What's up, guys? So I just wanted to let y'all know that the Dirt City Gym store is now online. So for all of your Pokemon TCG singles needs, be sure to check for the link down below in the description. What's up, guys? This is Corey with the Dirt City Gym, back with another deck profile for y'all. Today we're going to be looking at Primal Groudon. So, this is kind of like my baby deck, I guess you'd say. It's one of these, Primal Groudon's one of my favorite cards. It's this deck that I've been working on here and there for quite a while, actually. Probably since rotation back in August or September. I've just been trying to, like, wait for the right moment for it to be able to come out and start to do well. Unfortunately, right now, with kind of how the meta is and the more popular decks and everything, Groudon is really good. Obviously, Decidueye is everywhere, and this deck is almost the straight hard counter to Decidueye Vileplume. So let's get into the list, but be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment, and all that good stuff down below. But let's get into it. So first off, we're going to get into Wobbuffet. Wobbuffet is really the star of the deck. If it wasn't for Wobbuffet, this deck really wouldn't stand a chance. We're running 4 Wobbuffet, which makes it super annoying. We always want to make sure Wobbuffet is our starting Pokemon up and our active, whether we're going first or second, to be able to shut off all those abilities with Bide Barricade, all 9 non-psychic Pokemon abilities. But so this includes things like Shaymin, Vileplume, Decidueye, pretty much you name it, other than with the exception of maybe Hoopa. Wobbuffet is shutting off abilities, so it's really limiting explosive starts from your opponent, and then just letting them do whatever their deck is built to do, whether it be like a Vileplume deck where they're trying to lock you out of your items, or a Decidueye deck where they're trying to just bench snipe you and different things like that. Wobbuffet lets us kind of get around all that and kind of do what we want to do. So yeah, Wobbuffet is, we're not ever attacking with Wobbuffet, it's really just sitting up there, shutting off the abilities and letting us kind of set up on the bench. Getting into kind of the meat of the deck. So first off, we've got 3 line of Groudon EX and Primal Groudon. So Groudon EX, 180 HP. It's got 2 attacks, Rip Claw. For fighting in a colorless, it does 30 damage, and then flip a coin if heads. Discard an energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. In kind of a pinch, it's not a bad option at all. And then it's got Massive Rend. For 3 fighting in a colorless, it does 130 damage. Really, we're not ever going to be attacking with Groudon EX unless it's just like an absolute have to, but what we want to be doing is getting in a Primal Groudon as quickly as possible. So, obviously, Primal Groudon is a Mega, so it'll enter turn when we evolve. We're not running Spirit Links or anything like that, which is intentional. So Primal Groudon has a big, fat 240 HP, which is like GX level territory there in the HP level. And then it's got the ancient trait, Omega Barrier, which basically says that Primal Groudon cannot be targeted by your opponent's supporter cards or trainer cards. So it means it can't be Lysandered, it can't be Enhanced Hammered, it can't be Crushing Hammered. Let's see, it can't be Team Flare Grunted, any of that kind of stuff where your opponent plays a card and targets one of your Pokemon. If it targets Primal Groudon, then the card has no effect. They're still playing the card and it still goes to the discard pile and everything, it just doesn't have an effect, which is really cool. So it lets Groudon kind of pretty sit there untouched until you're ready to bring Groudon up and start attacking with it. And so Primal Groudon's got the attack Gaia Volcano. For 3 fighting and a colorless, it does 100 damage. And if there's a Stadium card in play, this attack does 100 more damage, and you discard that Stadium card. So it makes Gaia Volcano do 200 damage with a Stadium in play, which obviously will go up with strong energies and things like that, which makes it really strong because in combination with Wobbuffet and the Primal Groudon, as soon as we get into Primal, like I said, they can't get Lysandered up or anything like that, and its energy is safe. So we sit there and we just attach the energy to the Primal Groudon until we're ready to come in and attack. So against things like Decidueye and things like that, we need 2 strong energies to one-shot, as long as there's a Stadium in play. Pretty much most other things, just 1 strong energy. Usually we'll get past like Fighting Fury Belts and things like that. Obviously we're hitting Darkrai for weakness already, so Stadium's not relevant. Yveltal, we need at least 2 strong energies to get past Resistance with a Fighting Fury Belt. Mega Rayquaza, we need 2 strong energies to get past Resistance. The only thing that we don't have an easy time like one-shotting would be things like Solgaleo or Lunala. We would need 3 strong energies on a Primal Groudon in order to one-shot. We're not running Kukui in this list, so if you feel that's a necessary addition, that's something you could totally reach for and add and things like that. But anyway, yeah. So basically, Primal Groudons are win condition, obviously, but only when we're ready. So a lot of games, Wobbuffet up in the active is enough to kind of lock your opponent out for several turns, especially multiple Wobbuffets. We don't mind giving up prizes from those Wobbuffets because Primal Groudon is just going to get loaded up. So once we get at least 1 Primal Groudon ready to go, potentially up to 2, then we can come in, even if we're down 3 to 4 prizes, and just start sweeping the game at that point between Gaia Volcano for one-shots, and then ending your opponent down to 1 to 2 cards where they can't really respond. And then Primal Groudon's so difficult to knock out in and of itself. It's a really great combo. Having the Omega Berry in and of itself really limits your opponent. Like, there's several games where people not knowing what the card will do will try to Lysander him up, and you'll be like, oh, nothing going there, buddy. But anyway, next up, and this is definitely just kind of my inclusion in the deck. You definitely don't have to have this, but I did this weekend, and it was really good. So Regirock, this is the promo Regirock. Regirock has the same ancient trait as Primal Groudon, so Omega Barrier, so he cannot be Lysandered or hammered off or anything like that. And what I was doing with the Regirock is I would always want to start with the Wobbuffet, obviously, but if I could, I would Ultra Ball, go get Regirock as soon as I can, usually on turn 1, and I could start attaching my energy into Regirock, because Groudon EX does not have that Omega Barrier. He's really big Lysander targets, or hammer targets, or anything like that. They can Lysander him up and things like that, whereas Regirock, we can load up onto Regirock, and then we have Ninja Boy. We Ninja Boy out into the regular Groudon, and then we can just straight up Mega Evolve into the Primal Groudon, and kind of skip that step of having the regular Groudon out there to be able to get Lysandered again. It's not something you're necessarily like striving to get, but if you can get it set up, it just really helps you in terms of not being able to be stopped getting your setup going. So that is our Pokemon line. Again, I'm only running 1 of the Regirock just because it's not really the goal to get the Regirock out there, but if we're able to get it, it's a really great setup. Moving into the trainer cards, we're running 40 trainer cards, so this is a super trainer intensive deck. So first up, we've got 2 Enhanced Hammer. Again, since we're a big setup kind of deck, we're wanting to stall out our opponent, be as disruptive as possible. So Enhanced Hammers and things like that, just keeping their energy off the field, keeping our Wobbuffets relatively safe until we're ready to bring up Groudon. Is never bad. Running 1 Escape Rope, just kind of get out of the active where we need to. 2 Mega Turbos. Obviously, Primal Groudon has a big, massive 4 energy attack cost. So Mega Turbos just kind of help us get those going a little bit quicker if we need it. Next up, we've got Puzzle of Time. We're running 4 Puzzle of Time. We have a lot of different resources, whether it be Enhanced Hammers, Mega Turbos, Stadiums, energy cards even, Team Flare Guns and things like that. And we're already a super slow deck, so we're going to be going through our cards as kind of slowly and methodically as we want to. So Puzzle Time is really good in order to get back some of those resources, be more disruptive. We've got 3 Trainer's Mail. Traditionally, Trainer's Mail is not included in Groudon this, but I've found, obviously without having like a tropical beach as you would in Expanded, there's several turns where you need to be able to dig a little bit to get some type of supporter card. So we included Trainer's Mail, just a 3 count. It's pretty good though. Next up, we got 4 Ultra Ball. Again, pretty kind of standard stuff. A lot of the time, like I said, my first Ultra Ball, I'm going to be looking at the deck. See, do I have Regirock? Do I have Ninja Boy? Do I have all my Groudons, all my Primal Groudons in there, or at least 2? So if I go get the Regirock, I'll get the Regirock, attach to the Regirock, so next turn I can Ninja Boy out, and then go get another Primal Groudon or something like that. I'm also looking to get Wobbuffets and things off the Ultra Ball. Next up, we got 4 VS Seeker, again, standard stuff there. 1 Parallel City, obviously we need Stadiums for Gaia Volcano to really do its maximum damage. So we have a little bit of a variety with our Stadiums. My Stadium list is really dependent on my meta and everything like that, what I was expecting to see or what I am expecting to see, what I know gives me problems. I run Parallel City because Mega Rayquaza can be kind of a problem just with how quickly they move. Obviously with Wobbuffet, we're still shutting off Shaymin, so they're not quite as explosive, but they still have access to Hoopa, which is still really annoying because they can still load up their bench with Hoopas. So Paralyticity kind of helps us bypass that a little bit. Rumba Road is also potentially a problem if they can get kind of real explosive and things like that, so Paralyticity is pretty good for that as well. Every now and then you could bump your own bench down if you necessarily needed to, but not really is that much. Is something that's going to come up super often. Alright, next up we've got Scorched Earth. Scorched Earth just provides us a little bit of draw power early. It also works really well with the Mega Turbo. So you discard the fire or the fighting energy to Scorched Earth, draw 2 cards, and you can Mega Turbo onto a Primal Groudon and get set up a little bit quicker. 1 Shrine of Memories, which this one is probably one of the more asked about stadiums that are running the deck. But the point of me running the Shrine of Memories is if you ever get stuck in a situation where you don't have a fully loaded up Primal Groudon, or you do have a fully loaded up Primal Groudon, but you don't need to Gaia Volcano in order to take knockouts or things like that. Shrine of Memories lets us keep the stadium, so we can Gaia Volcano a little bit later if we need to and discard the stadium. We can still use the Massive Rend or the Rip Claw off the Groudon EX. So it gives a little bit more options for our Groudon. So again, this is one of those, if you wanted to mix up the stadium counts, different things, you could totally do that. These are just, like I said, what I felt was necessary. And then last for our stand, we're running a Silent Lab. Silent Lab is specifically for Carbink. Obviously not Carbink Break, but just regular Carbink, and more importantly for Giratina. Giratina is a little bit big right now, and with Primal Groudon being a Mega Pokemon, Giratina, we can't deal damage to it. So Silent Lab, at least for a turn, let's just get past that through the Gaia Volcano and things like that. Moving on, we've got 1 Hex. Again, very similar to the Silent Lab for Carbink and Giratina, getting past those abilities so we can deal our damage. Also, against the Decidueye Vileplume, well, traditionally we're shutting them out with our Wobbuffet. Whenever we have to come up to attack with the Groudon, they have access to Vileplume item lock and then the Decidueyes and things like that. So if we can time it out where we come up with the Primal Groudon in order to take knockouts, and then drop a Hex right before we attack, we're still shutting off their abilities for the following turn. And we can still, via Secret and things like that, get a Hex chain going, kind of close out the game with that. Next up, we've got 2 Lysander. Again, pretty standard stuff there with the Lysander. 2 in. 1 Ninja Boy. That's just kind of getting our combo off with the Regirock. Again, we're only running a 1 Regirock and 1 Ninja Boy. Again, the combo works really well, but it's not like necessary for the deck to work. So I didn't want to clog the deck up with extra pieces to try to make that work. Pokemon Center Lady, just a 1-of. Obviously, Groudon's big, fat, 240. So anytime we can heal it off and get some of that extra damage off, make it even more difficult to knock out, it can get extra annoying. It can also help keep our Wobbs around a little bit longer if we need to keep those going. We got 4 Sycamore, 1 Team Flare Grunt, 1 Assault Vest. Assault Vest is really good. Obviously, we're not running Spirit Links, because we're not really worried about getting a fast Primal Groudon out. So Assault Vest works really well in the Primal Groudon, preventing 40 damage from a Pokemon that's attacking with a special energy. So this includes things like Yveltal, Mega Rayquaza. So with the Assault Vest on a Primal Groudon, it effectively has 280 HP, which makes it really difficult. Mega Rayquaza can't one-shot at that point. They're having to 2-shot, so just that extra turn to be able to get the return one-shot on the Prime or the Mega Rayquaza is really good to have. And then there's all sorts of decks, whether it be Decidueye Vileplume with Lugias and things like that. Assault Vest comes in really strong. Running 3 Floatstone. Floatstone really works really well, whether it's putting it on the Wobbuffet so we can get out of the active when we need to get out of the active, or putting it on a Primal Groudon, especially with against things like the Decidueye Vileplume and things like that. A Floatstone on a Primal Groudon lets us turn our items back on whenever we want. So we come up, Gaia Volcano, take our 2 prizes. The next turn, we retreat back into the Wobbuffet. Then we have access to our items and we have their abilities turned off until we're ready to like Lysander something up or take those next set of knockouts. So it's really good in maneuverability. And then finally for our energy, we're running a relatively low energy count, but between puzzles and Mega Turbos, it's usually not a problem, especially once we have these things on the Primal Groudons and the Regirocks. And Primal Groudon's already hard to knock out, so they can't really get rid of the energy. So yeah. So first up, we got our 4 strong energy. These are really important to make sure we're taking those one-shots whenever we need to take them. Like I said, 2 strong energies takes out Decidueye, takes out Eeveeloutions, takes out Mega Rayquaza. 1 strong energy takes out just about everything else. Even with the Fighting Fury Belt, you're hitting for 220. Unless it's not resistance, then you're usually pretty good taking out. We're already taking out Lugia without the strong energy and things like that. We would need 3 strong energies to take out Solgaleo or Lunala because they have 250. But strong energy, again, it's one of those, if you don't need it in the matchup, then try to spread them out. Usually I try to go for 2 strong energies maximum on each Primal Groudon, and then 2 just regular energy. That way I always have the ability to one-shot the different things I'm trying to work around. And then finally we're just running 5 fighting energy, which again, it's kind of low. So we're only running the 9 energy. But with the Mega Turbos and the Scorched Earth, we just have to be a little bit careful. We're not discarding all of our energy because we don't have, with the exception of Puzzle Time, access to get those energies back. But it's usually not a problem. Because like I said, your energy is relatively safe once you get a Primal Groudon out. We're not really attaching to Wobbuffet unless we absolutely have to. But anyway, guys, that is the list. Like I said, I played this at a league challenge this weekend. I ended up going 4-1. I got 5th place. Top 5 all were 4-1. My resistance really worked against me. My only loss was to the guy who got first, and he was playing Mega Rayquaza. And for the first 5 turns, I didn't draw a single draw support. I got a full-fledged Primal Groudon out and everything like that, but you don't get draw supporters, you know, you can't do too much. But all in all, I'm really happy with the deck. Like I said, in the tournament, I played against 2 Decidueye Vileplumes and like totally shut them out. You know, when they don't have access to item lock, they can't Feather Arrow. They have to resort to loading up on Lugias and things like that to be able to knock out your Wobbuffets, which at that point, they're not doing what they want to do. Using the Wobbuffet and things like that, you're really making the Decidueye player play at your pace, which is not what that deck's designed to do. You're sitting there, you're just loading up your energy until you're ready to take knockouts. So it's a very different mentality when you're playing the Primal Groudon deck. You're playing a very slower pace. A lot of turns will just be draw, attach energy, pass. Draw, Primal Evolve, pass. You might drop some hammers or things like that here and there. Team Flare Grunts, which are super disruptive and just keep you going at your pace until you're ready to attack. A lot of the games, you'll probably go down in prizes relatively early. You'll go down to the opponent will take 2 prizes, 3 prizes, knocking at your Wobbuffets and things like that. Maybe occasionally if they can Lysander up a Groudon EX and take that knockout, which you're fine with. You're actually not in a bad spot going even up, down, or down to 3 prizes, because that makes the ends even more powerful until you're ready to go. Once you start ending them and taking one-shots and things like that, it makes it really hard for them to respond, especially trying to take out a big fat Primal Groudon. Different options you could include in this deck would be like Weakness Policy would be a good option. You're not really worried about getting attacked by Decidueye because you can one-shot them whenever you want to, but they do hit you for weakness, and Razor Leaf would do 180 after weakness. So it's something if you want to consider. Weakness Policy is not bad. It's also really good against Lurantis because they hit you for weakness. And a lot of my testing, I also was running Bent Spoon. Bent Spoon's really fun in the deck because a lot of the Decidueye decks are now running Jirachi, which discards your special energies. With a Bent Spoon, that prevents all those effects, so you don't have to worry about the Jirachi. Lycanroc's also getting a little bit of hype. You don't have to worry about Lycanroc discarding your energies and things like that. So Bent Spoon could be an option, just kind of depending. Really, just how the deck works with the mass amount of trainers that are running. There's a lot of different tech options you can include in depending on what you're expecting to see or what you're not comfortable playing against. So the deck has a little bit of versatility, and obviously you could drop the Regirock and Ninja Boy thing, and that gives you room for 2 extra cards to kind of run. Bunnelby could be a potential option. Throw Bunnelby late game. There's a lot of games where your opponent's going to be milling and going through their deck, especially if they don't know how to play against Primal Groudon. They'll just kind of go nuts and try to do all the stuff, get really set up. And so at the end of the game, Lysander for a Hoopa or something like that can't retreat, and Bunnelby Burrow can kind of take over the game, just mill them out of the game. But anyway, guys, that is the list. I'm not going to get any battles today. Regirock is ridiculously hard to get on PTCGO, so I'm not even going to make the attempt. But anyway, feel free to try the deck. Let me know what y'all think. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what y'all think about Primal Groudon. And we will see y'all next time.